Broadcasting on Star Worldwide Networks. It's Two Small Biz Guys. And now, here are your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
And welcome to Two Small Biz Guys. Ray, how you doing today?
I am super duper fantastic. It's a
You're
beautiful
always
day.
super duper fantastic.
Well,
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Yeah, the old guys found a way.
No, people used to say, "Well, how are you?" And I learned years ago.
I'm grateful.
I don't say grateful. I say I'm fantastic or I'm super.
Yeah.
So today I'm super duper fantastic. So that's
Awesome. We have a super duper fantastic guest today.
We do.
And Mark Hiegel he was president and chief executive officer of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here today.
Great. Now, I'm going to pull you in here. There was a little bit of sidebar conversation that was going on before we went on the air about where you're from and what was going on back there. So you're like most people, you're a transplant.
Absolutely. I am originally from Madison, Wisconsin, and I'd like to tell the story, especially how it relates to the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce, because most people that are CEOs or presidents of the chamber or executive directors come from a background that was maybe in government. My predecessor, Rick Kidder, worked in the governor's office, or they come from a nonprofit. I've never worked in a nonprofit. And I have.
How can you deal with somebody that's last name is Kidder? He's a pretty serious guy, though.
Great guy, and did a great job, and he was there for 13 years. But when I was going through the interview process, I said I've never been in the legislature and never worked in the governor's office and haven't worked for a nonprofit. My whole life has been kind of brought up in a business situation. In Madison, I'm proud to say my father, who started at 19 years of age, while going to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, retired from Oscar Mayer after having sold the company twice. He was president and chief executive officer, sold the company to General Foods. They kept him for 5 years. Then he sold the company to Philip Morris Kraft, and they kept him for 5 years. Then he retired at 61. My father and my mother were also married one time each, and they were married for over 50 years, so often you get to have that type of coaching.
It really is.
One business, one marriage, their whole life.
So my parents were that way, and it's so rare. I grew up, and I think you probably did too, we're skewed. Okay, we have a totally skewed view of the nature of relationships, and that's kind of a challenge today.
Yeah. Well, and
it's a blessing and a challenge.
Well, and throw on top of that, I had 7 brothers and sisters, so we were a total of 8. My dad was from a family of 5 girls. He really wanted a boy. My sister Susan was born. My sister Christy was born.
Do you have anything to do with that show?
My sister Gail was born. My sister Nancy was born, and I was born on Friday the 13th.
So you were the lucky one.
First boy, and I consider myself the lucky one. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now I know why the Scottsdale Chamber brought you in as the president and CEO, because you are a real hot dog. That's why.
Hey, I had a number of different jobs that my dad put me through, and then you talk about hot dogs. I got to drive the Wienermobile.
Oh,
not many people can claim that.
So you had that long thing behind you. Okay.
$55,000 vehicle at the time. There was 5 of them on a Volkswagen chassis.
Oh, okay.
So did it handle like a VW, or was it kind of wobbly?
You had to be very careful when you were driving that thing, and they would never
like a water truck.
No,
huh?
they wouldn't let me take it home on the weekend. I thought, wouldn't that be fun? Take that out to the bars at night and say, "You guys want to come out and see my car?"
Yeah.
I think it'd be great for barbecues to take too. But
Yeah, you hot dog.
Yeah.
You're just hot dogging it.
So you came from Madison, Wisconsin, from Badgerland, out to, I guess, warm Arizona.
Yep. After graduating, I decided it was time to move out west where it was warm, and ended up going to graduate school at ASU.
Oh, okay. That's a different.
Was that
activity.
what was the impetus for actually coming to Arizona?
I had a sister that had gone to school at ASU. I wanted to continue on with my education. I wanted an MBA. And I had been out to visit my sister Gail. I loved the school, and
Had nothing to do with escaping the cold.
absolutely had a lot to do with escaping the cold. And I had an apartment that was down on Baseline, with a pool year round, and loved it.
Now, we can't talk about that because we'll probably get censored, but
Okay.
we can talk about the Scottsdale Chamber. So
Okay.
So how big is the chamber?
The chamber currently, we represent about 1,100 businesses, and that's a makeup of a number of different things. On the very top end, what I'll call our corporations or big businesses, we have about 75 of those memberships, and they probably represent, in terms of total employees, probably 80% of our population, even though they're only 5%.
A lot of folks we hear the term chamber, and business owners, of course, usually know what the chamber is, but there's two things that are involved with the city, the chamber and the economic development department. So kind of if you could, for listeners, what's the difference between the two?
Well, it varies from chamber to chamber, but I'll give you the history of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. We started in 1947, before the city was even incorporated. And everything went along smoothly. We were part of the city. And then in the year 2000, we decided to break away from the city, and we did that for a number of reasons. The biggest reason being the fact that we could not go out and lobby for our businesses. For example, if there was an initiative that the mayor and or city council weren't behind, we couldn't come out against it, or if it's something we wanted for it from our business standpoint, because we represent businesses. So we went out and self-funded ourselves, which is what we do through memberships, which I'm trying to switch to clients. I don't think we're a membership organization anymore. I want to be a client organization. But now when we want to take a position on specific initiatives or referendums that are being run, we can do that because we're not paid by the city. So within the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce, we're our own separate entity, whereas if you take a look at tourism, they have a head of tourism that works definitely, for the city. They put a lot of their work out to an organization that has run tourism for 20 years, but 80% of their budget comes from the city. You take a look at economic development, the companies that, or the division that actually brings in new businesses into Scottsdale or helps with retention and expansion, that's part of the city. So we're not part of the city, and that allows me to represent those 1,100 businesses on the things that we think are most important to impacting their business.
So what do you think is the most important impact that the chamber wants to bring to businesses in Scottsdale or to your membership?
Well, it's actually a number of different things, because depending on the size of the business and the type of the business, their objectives often change. So we have to make sure and respond to a number of different things. Some people are really most involved with or interested in what we do down at the state capitol, how we lobby for laws to get passed or not get passed, or maybe just to make some minor changes to them. So a lot of them look to us for that. And as we looked at it here in Scottsdale, we weren't big enough to have a big say down at the state capitol. So we've gotten together with a group that we call East Valley Chamber of Commerce Alliance. And that's 9 chambers that we all work together. We meet once a week during the legislature, sessions.
Yeah.
And we go through hundreds and hundreds of laws, and we pick out the ones that we support, and we use a group called Dorn Policy Group that actually goes down there and fights for us. So we're actually one of the biggest lobbying firms in terms of a chamber, because there's 9 of us together.
What's been your most successful initiative?
There's a number of different initiatives, not from an EVCCA standpoint, but from Scottsdale. First one, which is still going on, so I can't tell you if it's successful yet or not, but 123, where we'll be voting on May 17th, we came out in support of that for a number of different reasons. Obviously, $3.5 billion goes into the schools, and we've looked at both the pros and the cons to it. And I think as we as a chamber made a decision to go forward in supporting that initiative, beyond all the good things we hear or the things that people consider not so good, what are we going to do without it?
Right.
Okay?
Well, hopefully, the standards in the school are raised by the influx. Then in turn, you get better quality students out of them, which in turn feed into the businesses that need the skill sets that are advanced.
Yeah, but I think
Absolutely.
there's another aspect to that, and that is if you want businesses to relocate or to locate here, you have to have a good supply of educated participants who want to be
Absolutely.
in those businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you can't, and also otherwise they won't be willing to move here because their executives don't want to move.
I mean, it's not just the weather.
Well, it's whether they come or not.
It's whether or not they come, right?
It depends how you spell weather, but
And sometimes weather is the first thought, and people are here because maybe they're on vacation or they're a tourist and they're staying at one of our fine resorts. But once they get here and realize maybe we are not at the top of the education in terms of where we rank, and we've all heard the numbers where we rank, 48, 49. But when you look at Scottsdale and how we rank, and if you look at our educational system and how we rank, if you look at BASIS, it was the #1 high school, throughout the country here in Scottsdale. You take a look at ASU and SkySong. I mean, who can beat
Tremendous
that?
advances, and we've got nowhere to go but up,
Yeah.
and tremendous opportunity within that.
Absolutely, and that's what we look to support from an educational standpoint. Is we need to improve what we do here in the state, but Scottsdale's got a pretty good picture to paint. And even if they don't end up moving their businesses into Scottsdale, they go to Phoenix or Tempe or Chamber. That's wonderful because a lot of times we still get their executives living in Scottsdale.
well, but also enhances the whole community because if you don't have businesses, you can't do B2B within the community. So
Correct.
you have to create a greater whole
Absolutely right.
to support even Scottsdale.
Absolutely.
So one of the main activities of the chamber is the legislative type of activity and being involved in government with the other 9 chambers.
Yes.
So when you would have that, you would take turns as who's ahead. How do you set the priority as to not all 9 getting together on the same issues?
Yeah, we actually meet on it on a monthly basis as a board of directors, which each of us has 1 vote. And unless we have 100% agreement on an initiative, it doesn't go forward. And then we actually take our initiatives, we write them up, and then Dorn Policy Group goes down and lobbies for them, and we rotate the chairman. So, for example, this year, on July 1st, I'll become chairman of the EVCCA.
So what you're telling me, in order to be chairman, you have to have a lot of initiative.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And there's always enough to keep us busy in this state.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and especially when you're getting 9 organizations, let alone 9 leaders together and negotiating, making sense common for everyone. That's a real challenge and an art,
Absolutely.
if not a science, involved in learning how to communicate with each other. Speaking of communication, we're going to communicate a little differently, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much for listening to Two Small Biz Guys.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this.
The digital world is vast. Is it working for you? Would you like some qualified help? Zen Benefiel is a wonder with social media who leads focused and organized workshops on multiple platforms like Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. He leads by example, not theory, and teaches you how to live large and lively on the web. From blogs to SEO, his web presence speaks for itself. Take advantage of his expertise. Visit BeTheDream.com and click on Web Wizardry. Hire him while you can.
As a business owner, have you ever felt alone at the top? You don't have to be. Ray Silverstein has worked with many business owners for over 20 years facilitating peer advisory boards. He is the proverbial mentor and tormentor. A Pro President's Peer Advisory Board is a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners that give support, feedback, and knowledge. They know the adage, all of us are smarter than one of us. He has walked in your shoes, having owned and sold 2 companies with sales in excess of $60 million and approximately 1,300 employees. In Young President's organization, he participated in peer advisory boards and felt it was a key to his success. His passion is to help small business owners succeed. He knows Pure Board's work when you are open, don't feel like you know it all, are willing to put issues on the table, and willing to take criticism. Be his guest at a Pro Advisory Board meeting to see if it works for you. There's no commitment to join, and you'll have a great experience. To sample a free Pro Business Owner Pure Board, email ray@propres.com. That's ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
It's good to be back.
It certainly is. And speaking of listening and sharing, and we really want to appreciate the audience and the number of visits that we have, the listeners that we've got, and we encourage you all to go to the website, twosmallbizguys.com. We've got a lot of information there, some giveaways, articles, books, and things like that can really benefit you as a business owner.
Why do you encourage? Why don't you just tell them to go there? Ask for the order.
Go to twosmallbizguys.com.
We're supposed to be talking about business, so you got to ask for the order. Are you bashful?
Of course. No, I'm Zen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're bashful Zen. Okay.
I am. Yeah, I'm like one of the dwarves.
Oh, don't spell that for me.
All
Okay.
right. Speaking of dwarves, I'm going to no.
That's a small thought. I know.
It really is. Mark's been on the board now, or as the leader of the chamber for a little over half a year. What's been your takeaway from that so far? What's been your greatest learning in stepping into that?
Probably one of the hardest pieces to get my hands around is the fact that when you have a large organization of different businesses made up of both large and small, is the large turnover that you have on the smaller business or the startup businesses. And I think that's something that's very important for us to recognize, because that makes up 90% of my membership. Okay? And how do we satisfy their needs? How do we do the things that are going to help them succeed? So, historically, they might have looked at the larger corporations for more of the financial support, but the up and down the street businesses are the people that really need us and need us to help drive the things that are important to them. So what we have done is change the way that we are organized to take not just so much a focus on growing and bringing in new businesses, but how do we maintain the existing? I don't even want to say the number of businesses that turn over on the small end, but it's definitely a double-digit number.
Certainly substantial, because the percentages, small businesses often fail.
Yes, and so some of those that fail, what can we do that maybe will actually help them succeed, and what programs can we put together? So as a chamber, we do in Scottsdale 240 different events and or meeting and or training sessions a year. And if I were to take a look at those events, the top 10%, the larger corporations, there's maybe 20 to 25 of those 240 programs. The other 220 roughly are programs that are targeted at small businesses. And those are things, everything, a lot of it goes around networking. And because really when I talk to a number of companies, the most important thing to them is, how can you help me grow my business? How can you help me expand my business? And at the same time, how can you do it profitably? So when we have a chamber member that comes in new, and each month we might get 30 new chamber members, one of the things that I tell them is there are 240 events that you can attend. You've got to pick out the events that you think are going to be most successful for you in growing your business. If we don't currently have one of those events, please tell us what it should be, because we'll develop it, and we're looking at a scale of ranking our businesses within which ones they attend and which ones are most important. So we have a morning AM meeting, and we rotate that from different locations. We get approximately 100 people that show up at that every month, and they network, and it's for smaller businesses. We also, people can't make it in the morning on a small business, we have a PM Connect. Same type of thing. We take it and we have it at another business location, and we have those PM Connects, where people can get together and network on what's working. Then we can even take it down to a smaller level. We have a number of different leads groups, and we break those down by industry, whether it's technology, et cetera, et cetera. And those groups meet individually, and they talk about what has made their company successful or not successful. So we have this whole gamut of experiences, and what we try to say to them is, you've got to come to the events. You've got to put your chamber membership. You're paying $400 to $600, depending on your classification, a year to be in that. If you can't find some programs that are helpful to you in terms of growing your business, shame on us. It's half our fault, but it's also half your fault.
Basically, what you're saying is that there are 240 events a year. There's 252 working days a year. So it's almost one event per every working day.
Yep.
So the chamber has to be extremely busy. But I also hear a lot of discussion regarding networking. And when I work with small business owners, because I run peer advisory boards for business owners, and when they talk about networking, they have the habit of just going there to collect business cards. Mm-hmm. So they're measuring the wrong success. They're measuring success of how many cards I collect versus the focus of who can I really connect with. And I think that one of the aspects is that just doing, one of the things we always talk about is just doing isn't always being successful. You really have to focus on those activities that are going to make you successful.
Well,
So-
you're not successful if you're not creating the relationships. Because it's the
Well-
relationships that drive everything else.
But you have to create the right relationships.
Correct.
But the question I was going to drive towards is, you mentioned the networking, but
Oh, you're back on the bus now.
Do you have I'm always back on the bus. That's the problem, but not the back of the bus, the front of the bus.
Right.
See, when you run a business, you like to drive the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have educational events also besides the networking and leads?
Yeah, yes, we do. And let me back up for a second, though, to answer that question. One of the things that we do when we do our 101, which is when you first join the chamber, is we ask that you track, and we give you different ways to track what the connections that you're making and what is turning into sales. Okay? And so, in other words, if you're going to an event, it's going to have X number of people at it. You need to make a decision. If there's 100 people at the AM Connect, that you're going to try and come out of that with 4 potential relationships that you actually might become a member of your organization, might buy your products, and or support your business. So we actually try to get them to break it down, not just to show up and have the coffee and donuts and talk about their business, but to actually target people and then track it throughout the year. Track what that lead means to you, especially if it turns into a sale for your company, and then evaluate that $400 or $600 expense in terms of, did it pay for itself? If you look at a number of car dealerships, they're excellent at it. We've signed up one 3 months ago, and he told me he's already sold 4 cars. So he's tracking how many cars he sold. And so that's a big company, but it's an individual salesperson in it, and that's what he will do to help generate what actually happens in terms of whether they'll join or not join.
One of the things that we've done also is we have, Ray's actually got some sales tracking sheets that we make available on our educational website, which is not Too Small Biz Guys. Well, yeah, there's educational stuff there. practicalbizu.com. So we've got downloadable worksheets for individual business owners that you can get for free if you don't belong to a chamber.
Excellent idea, and I'm going to go look
Sure.
and go look at those and see where I can steal shamelessly, and if we don't have something equivalent, to try and look at those things, because the training is such a huge aspect. What do we find that people want? Right now we run a HR series, and we have that 9 times a year, 1 a month, and we try and pick an HR topic for small businesses that is the most important topic, and people can attend that because that's an area oftentimes that they can't afford on their own, but it's very important.
Well, first of all, you can go in there shamelessly. You can copy, because imitation is the fondest form of flattery, and I enjoy being flattered. But
Right.
the aspect is, you mentioned HR series.
Yeah.
The interesting aspect is that when businesses grow, the number one complexity is our personnel and people. And I have a member in Chicago that tells me, he says, "I never wish competition ill. I only wish them more people." So
Employees.
more employees,
Right.
So HR is a very critical issue, even though they think about the regulatory aspect, but they really have to get involved as to how to hire properly and motivate and incent all these type of activities.
And
So
you've
you're-
got 4 generations that are usually working in one location now, and the ability to communicate cross-generationally is really challenging.
Absolutely, and the impact in terms of, how are you going to transition that business if it doesn't stay within the family-owned businesses?
Right.
And what happens as you start to grow larger and the culture starts to change because it's not just family members. And we, as a chamber, I have 9 full-time employees, so I am a small business. And guess what I'm dealing with? I'm dealing with the different personalities that impact the culture. I'm looking at who's making my sales. I'm looking at how they're networking. So I have the same areas of focus to work on that you're talking about.
You're a
with the
leader and a
business
coach
at the same
simultaneously.
time. And they're usually a lot of young kids.
I'm
Right.
just curious. Since you came in, you're an outsider. You have 9 employees there, and you're like the new head coming in. So how do you adapt to that? You're an experienced business person.
From my standpoint, it's a bit simpler. My history was with big corporations coming out. Again, being raised with my father at Oscar Mayer, and then my first job out of grad school was PepsiCo. So I went from, Phoenix, Arizona, and a sales manager.
I'll drink to that. But
Okay, thank you very much. And
No, he didn't work for Hensley.
a great company.
Yeah.
But so I went to headquarters, had a little bigger staff in New York, and then I went to LA, and I had 500 people. But then I came full circle back to Phoenix, Arizona, where I worked at an ad agency that we had about 10 employees, that we grew to 50 employees and doing $60 million. And that was in Phoenix. I moved it to Scottsdale.
So
And
when's the not what's done in Phoenix stays in Phoenix going to come around?
You know
guys
what?
did the LA or the Las Vegas
we
version.
did the what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. But I think all those different experiences helped me take a small business and grow it. So I try to take those same experiences into this chamber, and more importantly, into the different small businesses that we work with to say, here's what you need to address. And from a standpoint of the company itself is you've got to have the training program, you've got to have the culture, who's going to be in charge of your culture and what's happening in that culture, what are the sales type training programs that you're giving, and regardless of what's happening today in technology, I still believe that the relationship is the first step, and people still want to know who they're dealing with and who they're working with. Automate everything else beyond that, but with the relationships, pick the ones that are most important to growing your business, and then track it. Put a stake in the ground and track it.
When we come back from break, I'd like to have you tell us as to what is your marketing approach that you've had, because I understand you've been very successful in growing the membership of the chamber for your 6 or 7 months. And I'm curious as to how you approach that from a marketing and sales perspective.
Great.
And I totally agree with you that the digital world should bring you back into face-to-face or building relationships so you get to know one another. And if it's not designed to do so, then there's something missing.
Right.
And we're not going to have anything missing here. We're going to take a break and give you a couple of commercials. And we thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys. We'll be right back.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this.
Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today.
Business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. Our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is just the thing. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners facilitated by a pro who has walked in your shoes. He's your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead. When you have issues or opportunities keeping you awake, where do you get help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro President's board meeting, email ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. Email ray@propres.com. You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
And we are so thankful that you're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Ray, you had a couple of or some questions that you wanted to leave off with, so I'm going to toss it over to you.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Catch.
Well, I'm always been a good receiver. Well, before we took that break, I was asking how the chamber has grown substantially since you've been there for the 6 or 7 months, and you come from a marketing background. So how did you create this what was the marketing plan that you created, and how did you implement that plan, sell it to your people, and more importantly, sell it to your constituents?
Well, let me first start off saying I wish we were there already, because we're not. I came in and I was going through the interview process, and I said, well, I'd love to take a look at your strategic plan. Okay, and again, we're a 9-person chamber.
If you already had anything, you wouldn't have any fun.
They're like, oh, we've got one. We did it in 2010, and we just can't find it right now. We'll find it. So I came in and actually looked through everything, and guess what? They collected data in 2010, never wrote a strategic plan. So I don't care how big or small your business is, you've got to have something that's got some guidelines that said, here's a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year.
You've got to have a roadmap, otherwise you get lost.
What's the roadmap? So we have started a strategic plan.
Well, it could be a rogue.
It is going to be a roadmap with the way I'm handling the
Did
chamber.
you say a rodent, man?
I said a rogue.
Rogue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're not badgering him now.
No.
I'm very comfortable, especially coming out of the Oscar Mayer business.
Oh,
and,
okay. And also from Wisconsin, you don't get badgered.
Cheesehead. I'm a rodent. I thought that's where you were going, right?
Okay.
And Packers. But so we've gone back, and I've hired a firm that is doing analytics. They're going out to all our membership, and we're in the process of this right now, doing it. So they're going to a good cross-section of every one of those business and asking what's important, what are we doing right, what do we need to do. We're also working with another group, Advanced Strategies, that's going to take that plan, do in-session interviews with all those different groups, so that by June of this year, in 3 months.
I'm glad you added what year, but okay.
This year,
that's a
in
lot
June,
to get done in a short time.
we will be done with that program. It'll have input from everybody that we represent, and it will be on, you go and look, it will be on our Facebook page, and it will be on our web page, and it's going to show, here's our 5-year strategic plan, which will change, we'll update year to year, but it's going to show what my goals are, what the chamber's goals are for 1, 3, and 5 years. So you got to have that to start. So that's something we're working on. It's in process right now, and it's also really helpful too, because as you send out hundreds and hundreds of emails to different members, you find out, gosh, they're not members anymore, or there's somebody new at the organization. So it's helping to clean up our database at the same time. But so in terms of marketing, what we're doing at the chamber, a lot of it is just getting that feedback from people that is very important. And then it's taking and doing different things, developing different programs that we haven't done in the past, or that we have done and we're maybe doing a little better job of how we're relating them to those businesses. So for an example, tomorrow we have a program called Los Tres Amigos, and it's going to be 3 chambers of commerces coming together, okay, for 2 hours from 5 to 7, and it's going to be Phoenix, Tempe, and Scottsdale. We'll have over 500 members at that. It's going to be at the Scottsdale Cultural Council, and it's an opportunity to network not just with Scottsdale, because even though your business is here in Scottsdale, really who do you want to be working with? So we are working with Phoenix and Tempe, and what are we going to do to make it a little different? We also have a live band that's going to be playing there, and we've got free food, and we want people to walk away from that event with at least 5 different new connections, and hopefully not Scottsdale connections. So go out of your comfort zone to work with them. And so we're marketing that program, and the attendance is obviously huge.
It sounds like since you're going to have a band, that will be a high note for that program.
It's really a high note. And actually, when I went to the band to talk to them, they said, Mark, I'd love to do that for you. And in fact, we'll give you a discount. We normally do it for $10,000, and we'll play for $7,500. It's an 11-piece band. They're great. And I had to call them back and leave a message that said, well, it's $7,499 over our budget. And he called me back and he said, well, you're a 501. I'm going to donate that $10,000 to you, and we're going to come play for free. We're going to take a tax write-off. but so they're there. So to me, it's going to be not just business, but also some fun. The restaurants that are part of the chambers are coming in. So to me, they're a sponsor of the chamber, and they're getting some value out of it. So we're also going and we're adding different categories within. So we now have a Scottsdale Area Chamber of Water.
Oh, are you giving the lecture on negotiation by any chance?
We are definitely negotiating some different things that we've never done before.
And I got to work with this all the time.
Well, why not?
That's what makes two guys fun.
There's an ad. You can't see this,
Yeah.
but I'm holding a Billionaire Water. They're one of
What
our
happened to
top
Crystal?
level sponsors.
Me and Crystal Water making friends.
351 years old, being
Yeah.
imported, and they're a sponsor. They're a member. They're trying to drive their business, so they're the official soft drink or official water of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce.
No, that bottle 351 years old.
Yeah. The water in it is, and it's never been touched. So,
Oh my gosh.
anyway, so that's the type of programs that we're starting to run, and there's a number of other different programs that we try to get people to that we are now marketing on a much higher level.
One of the things that you mentioned, especially with the band and other things are in that way, cash and in-kind services, when you're dealing with a nonprofit and being able to negotiate those things and provide your client base, memberships, however you want to term that, with things that may not necessarily happen otherwise, because you've got that advantage and people are willing to step up and participate because of that.
And so by doing this also, they're doing a good community service. We represent a number of different charity organizations. So I'm about 3 months or 2 months into the job back in November, and sales were a little slow. And I said, well, why don't we work with St. Mary's, and for every new membership, let's donate a turkey, because they were short on turkeys. You know, it was a great success. You know, we sent over a number of turkeys at the end. December, at the holidays, instead of sending a normal holiday card, saying thank you for what you've done, what we did is we said we are going to donate to this charity. Last month we just put on a program with Arizona Helping Hands, which support foster care people. And so anything that we can do, and it's so wonderful to see all the small businesses and big businesses get around it and want to help groups like that. So from a marketing standpoint, we're thinking, well, what do we do now? We're, for a new program where we're going to have all the different nonprofits that we work with at an event. Maybe it's that AM Connect or that PM Connect, so everybody can learn more about those memberships, just like we do with other industries.
When you say nonprofit, I assume you're referring to the 501c3s and not the companies that are supposed to make a profit.
Correct, 501(c)(3)s.
Well, and as a chamber, you're constantly building community, and what hasn't been happening in our past, we've had really loose-knit communities. Nobody's talking to each other. Nobody's working together. They're not collaborating. The communities are falling apart. And now, at least since the turn of the century, there's been a huge shift in learning how to work together, learning how to create that social responsibility factor, and even I'm sure you're probably familiar with the ISO 26000 social responsibility standards that came out back in 2010. And this is something that's new on the field that allows people to actually take charge of intentionally getting the companies involved in the local communities.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking with our different organizations now, in fact, this group that we're using to do our analytics for us, they're actually doing a program with humanities over at ASU that goes right down that same line of thought process. What can you give back socially?
Right.
That also
the B
ties
Corps
into
now are even including that in their mission and vision statements.
Absolutely, and it absolutely ties down to what you're doing. I mean, when we serve on a board of directors, I'm sure you guys do on a number of different organizations. How does it help your business? But also, what is it doing for the community that helps grow the community? And the more you help grow the community, the more your business grows.
Well,
Absolutely.
But you also stated that you're working with other chambers. For example, the event tomorrow night, we're having 3 chambers bringing their membership together. So it's the chambers that are working in concert to support the community at large.
Yeah, and historically it was, I'm not going to work with this chamber or that chamber because they're going to try and take the businesses that we have, or the clients that we have, or if somebody's moving here, they're going to try and get them into.
That's so last century.
It's so historical. I'm like, you know what? We all have different advantages here in Arizona. What can we do as a group of chambers that drive Arizona businesses, both relocations and maintain companies here? Because I might have a $2 billion aerospace company in Scottsdale, and I do, but the manufacturing, the work doesn't actually happen in Scottsdale. So maybe they ought to be part of Glendale or Chamber in Chandler, where they have more aerospace tech. So as a state, as a region, we want to increase the size of our pie. We'll all get enough. And I think you're starting to see that happen more and more, even though historically, and I felt that when I first came in, people were concerned about, well, should we be doing this or that? They're going to be taking our business. Well, you know what? I'm going to know if I lose one of my big businesses to somebody else, and that would end it fast. I'm not worried about it at all.
If you're going to fear losing something, you're going to lose it.
Right.
Well, but that goes back to your strategic plan. And the aspect is, what is the strategic goal of the chamber, and how does it satisfy that goal, and how does it fit within the overall valley as to how you promote? Because a rising tide lifts all boats, and you want the community to lift as a in total, because everyone benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you look at the governor now doing, we want to go on to those different areas. Education, he's not talking about a specific area, but he's talking about what can we do throughout Arizona to increase our education, whether it's through funding and other programs. We look at that within Scottsdale, and when I came into the job, I said probably one of the most important things that I can do is take Scottsdale out of our Scottsdale comfort zone and make us
which
more
is pretty comfortable.
It's very,
most.
very comfortable to be
Yeah.
here. I mean, fortunately, I've even heard a city council member say at one point, hey, I like being an island. Well, that's not how I think. I want Scottsdale. We're now Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. Eventually, I just want to be part of a regional.
If you're going to cross
group.
if you're going to go anywhere, you got to cross the water. Right?
You absolutely do.
So how do you take them out of the comfort zone?
Take them from not being in the comfort zone is what we're trying to do, and that's through getting them to trust each other. So it's having these different programs that we do together, and you're only as good as your word. I've historically been brought up. My father brought me up to say that a handshake is better than any contract.
I don't think it has anything to do with your word. It has to do with your actions and backing it up.
Yeah.
Well, it has to do with trust. And
right, and that builds the trust when you follow through with what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, whenever you want to create change, there has to be trust. Otherwise, people won't be willing to change.
That's right. And the trust you have to earn. So even with the number of different organizations and or different memberships that I'm looking at or industries getting involved, I'm like, well, I'll earn your respect, I'll earn your trust, and eventually you'll come on. And I've had clients in the past from my advertising that I worked on for a couple of years before they actually hired me. Well, it took that time to be trusted.
And we feel that way about earning your trust and being able to, enjoy more guests on the show. Speaking of the show, we'll be right back after these commercial messages. And thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this. As a business owner, have you ever felt alone at the top? You don't have to be. Ray Silverstein has worked with many business owners for over 20 years facilitating peer advisory boards. He is the proverbial mentor and tormentor. A Pro President's Peer Advisory Board is a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners that give support, feedback, and knowledge. They know the adage, all of us are smarter than one of us. He has walked in your shoes, having owned and sold 2 companies with sales in excess of $60 million and approximately 1,300 employees. In Young President's organization, he participated in peer advisory boards and felt it was a key to his success. His passion is to help small business owners succeed. He knows peer boards work when you are open, don't feel like you know it all, are willing to put issues on the table, and willing to take criticism. Be his guest at a Pro Advisory Board meeting to see if it works for you. There's no commitment to join, and you'll have a great experience. To sample a free Pro Business Owner Peer Board, email ray@propres.com. That's ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge.
Hi, I'm Zen Benefiel with Be the Dream Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services at BeTheDream.com. Our mission? To provide leading-edge transformational personal and business development services. Our services include life coaching, enterprise coaching, partnering facilitations, and possibilities coagulating. We've been in business since 1988. In times of massive change, you need someone who can help you adjust and transform. I can meet that challenge with you, offering a stellar skill set from serving individuals and companies for over 20 years. I invite you to peruse BeTheDream.com and put me to the test. Fill out the coaching assessment survey and give me a call. The first call is free, and you can find out if I'm what you are looking for in a coach, consultant, or service provider. Call 480-633-7179. Let your dreams mold future realities. BeTheDream.com.
You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
And welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. We really appreciate that. You know, we've been talking with Mark Hiegel, with the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce, and he's talked to us about being involved with several chambers around the valley. And, you know, as he was talking about chambers, I was thinking, interesting chambers. I remember a day when there was another type of chamber, and that happens to do with the next topic we're going to be talking about, and the medical marijuana laws and the lobbying that we have questions about it, and the engagement that the Scottsdale Chamber has in it.
So you were engaged in that. You feel very good about it, I understand.
I got stuck in a chamber.
Oh, so... And
and it wasn't a one-hitter.
So you're going to tell me your vision on this?
No, I actually want to defer that to Mark, as he's got the vision, because he's carrying the flag on this one.
Well, there's a number of different...
Or the bowl, as the case may be.
The bowl.
This is no bull.
Yeah, I think you guys are smoking your own exhaust right now. So, there's, I already mentioned Prop 123 and education, but there's a number of initiatives that have come forward. We did a forum about 4 months ago on medical marijuana, and what was our position on it? Why were we doing it? Well, Scottsdale had one medical marijuana shop in the north and one in the south, and I'm watching everything that's coming through the city and the city council, and I see there's two.
I thought you were talking about the drivers now.
No, that's another one. Transportation is another issue, but there were two in the city, and all of a sudden there's two more on the agenda for locations in Scottsdale. So a lot of people didn't know, I was talking about this to my Air Park Forum group, that when the law changed after 3 years with medical marijuana, they could pick up their license and go anywhere.
So now they can fly it in legally.
Well, they can. Well, actually, they can't. They have to grow it here.
Right.
But so with that medical marijuana law, I said, do you realize that you could now take your license after that 3-year plan was done? And so as of last August, they can take that license and set it up anywhere. So two more were in front of Scottsdale City Council. And I didn't want to take a position on whether we should support it or not support it, but I wanted to educate my group on medical marijuana. So we did some math and we looked at it. And
yeah, you got to be kind of non-committal on that. But here's the facts.
Well,
ma'am.
And based on zoning in Scottsdale, now, the fact that it didn't have to be whatever it was, 20 or 25 miles apart, and they could move their licenses, we could actually end up with 80 or 90 medical marijuana dispensaries in the Scottsdale Air Park. Well, why is that important or not important? So I tried to talk it up, but I didn't get a chance to write an article or anything on it. And the two medical marijuanas came. The city council had no reason to say no. So now we have 4.
As long as the pilots aren't card carrying.
Yes. So it went from 4 to 5. But now some people have started to wake up and realize that mathematically, it wouldn't happen, but mathematically, according to zoning, we could have 80 to 90 of these. Well, why is that important to that industry? Well, there's this thing called a prop that's going to be coming, a referendum that's going to be coming in November, and they've got their 250,000 signatures. And if you have a medical marijuana license, guess what you can also sell? recreational marijuana.
So we're following Colorado now.
We're very close.
We're touching the border. We might, we're close.
And so should I say, no, we can't have more than 2 in Scottsdale? Would that be fair for me to say we've got a monopoly with these 2, so we don't want any more? I didn't think so. At the same time, did I want our membership to wake up with the potential of 80 or 90 marijuana dispensaries in Scottsdale? And what would actually happen?
Well, the white-haired guys would be really upset at that point.
No, business would be in a haze, that's all.
Well, oh gosh, you guys are pretty good. But anyway, so it's something we're looking at.
It's the exhaust.
Yeah, that's what you used to smoke, exhaust. Now, but anyway, so we brought that up from an educational standpoint, and so we will now be running some additional forums on whether there should be recreational marijuana. And what I'm going to do is go out to my businesses. I'm going to find the best speaker and not make a decision based on how it might impact the brain. We're all hearing it, it can have long-term effects. What I want to know and what I want to explain to my membership is how it impacts the way you're doing business. Do you know that Boeing probably can't take a contract if somebody's under the influence? Do you know that even though it's legal in Arizona, that it's still a federal, it's illegally? So how would it impact your business?
Well, it comes up with workman's comp. It comes up with insurance and accidents and all the HR ramifications that might be there. So that becomes a very complex subject.
Yes.
It sounds like a very interesting subject, but extremely complex.
So I'll have 3 people on each side, and they'll be debating that, and we're looking at either August or September in running that forum. And there's a number of other different things. Desert Discovery Center, which I'm sure a number of you on, we came out and we supported it, and we were interested in it because it's going to drive tourism in the state, and if it happens, that's going to drive a lot more small businesses that will grow up around it. And so for the next 18 months, they're looking at it. Yes. Transportation was another big initiative that we took on. We were interested in what we called high-capacity transportation, so beyond cars and buses, and to include things like modern streetcar and or light rail. And all we wanted.
What do we got? 8 million people in the valley now.
Well, in the valley and in Scottsdale, 240,000 people. And I'm sorry, but where do you think the people from...
And we don't have the population density like New York, so you can walk and you don't need a car. But it's the urban sprawl. You got to get anywhere.
Well, and then take a look at it from another standpoint, too. Take one of my members, Honor Health. They've got 6,000 employees. How many of those 6,000 employees live in or can afford to live in Scottsdale? How do they get in and out of Scottsdale? So it's really more about regional connectivity.
Right.
And if you take a look at all the resorts that we have in Scottsdale, right, which is the lifeblood of what we do, how do you think the staff, the workers, et cetera, that can't afford to live here get in and out? Well, right now you can try and take a bus. Has anybody tried to take a bus up and down, Scottsdale Road from Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe?
You need medical marijuana to do that.
Well, then you could fund the apartment complexes that you could sprinkle around the outsides of the resorts.
Well, I think, Colorado's got a lot of tourism business out of it, I understand. But
absolutely.
My point is there are reasons that you have to be connected. And it was voted down.
And you have to be carefully connected.
And we don't want to destroy our views, and we don't want light rail coming right up, but we don't have to worry about it because City Council voted it down 4-3. So in our 10-year transportation plan, there will be no discussion of light rail or modern streetcar.
Will it come back around?
Who knows? He says.
City Council and mayors change.
True.
So, within the chamber, just going back to that, how active is the board of directors with the chamber?
Very active. We have an executive committee that meets. And in fact, we'll be meeting on Thursday. And then our board meets once a month, except for we do take off, like a lot of people, July and August. But we're also sorting through that. And
are these open meetings?
Yes, they are. Yeah. We have a number because we're not part of the city. We're that private organization that I talked about. So those types of meetings hear what we're doing and what's coming and what's working and what's not working. And I have a very, very supportive group. But we are looking at our board, we are looking at our executive, and we're looking at people to say who's going to be the best group of people to take this chamber into the future. I'm 59 years old. I can stay at the helm for a while, but how can I develop my transition plan, just like we do with a small business? I need to start developing my transition plan for me to be leaving in 5 or 6 or 7 years, and how do we get the people in that'll be running Scottsdale in the future?
You're onboarding and exit strategies.
I am.
Well, the interesting thing is most small business talk about exit strategy, but they only talk about it. They don't do it. But that's neither here nor there. So maybe they need medical marijuana to prolong their life so they don't have to worry about that.
Or just to chill out.
Or just make it less painful while they're alive.
Right.
That's right. Oh,
right.
I can see we got the prescription right here.
We do. And speaking of prescriptions and exit strategies, we thank you, Mark, for being with us on the show today. It's been a real pleasure for me. I hope you enjoyed it.
And me too. And we're waiting to drink that water. That's 351 years old. But
Ray and Zen, I really did enjoy it today, and I hope that I have the opportunity to come back when I'm not so green after 6 months on this, and no reflection on green marijuana. But the program's excellent, and I think it's a real benefit to businesses out there to listen to this program, and I'm going to do what I can to market it.
Yeah, you're just
we
an old
appreciate
hippie.
that.
And speaking of exit strategies, we're out of here. Thanks for listening to Two Small Biz Guys. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys with Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein. You can hear Two Small Biz Guys live every Wednesday at noon or catch their show on demand anytime 24/7 right here on StarWorldWideNetworks.com.